I'm Richard Lehe.
30 seconds. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm Richard Lehe. I pastored the Solid Rock Church in Cranston in 1753 Phoenix Avenue. And I agree that 100% that religious people make themselves look like complete fools by ridiculing, making fun of, and saying evil and sarcastic things. You lose the whole point of discussing something. I recently made friends with a gentleman who I work with, and he tells me that he's Satan's lapdog and he's an atheist, and we've made friends. And in one conversation we had, he said, "You know, Richard, I wish we could take all religious leaders and decapitate them." So I smiled at him, I stuck out my hand, shook his hand, because we are friends. And I said, "Well, I guess that would include me." He just looked and smiled. I shook his hand and said, "Well, you have a good day. Don't need to be afraid of anyone or anything." And as one person said, it's always best to stand up for what you really know to be true and die, let it be, let it be. But today on John DePietro, Mr. Aliquist said, and John had kind of lightly asked the question, in 18 years, what will this verdict really matter? In 18 years, what will it really matter? And no doubt in your minds and hearts, and with all the pulls and tugs of politics and people and all this kind of stuff, that question might say, well, in 18 years, what really is going to matter? You know, you hear on talk radio and we all make mention of mountains to die on, or the battles to die on. And we say, well, that mountain's not really that big to die on, and that one's not really big to die on. But I would just like to suggest in reality that, number one, the banner is a prayer banner. You can't really deny that. And for Christians to say it's not a banner, it defeats the whole purpose of speaking. You got to either stand somewhere or this place or that place and have some kind of clarity of thought. And so in 18 years, what will it all really mean? I just like to read, and I do thank you for your attention and the opportunity to speak before this committee, not the council, Mr. Lamar. It says here, the question of what the founders intended as a proper relationship between religious expressions and public life, whether in education, law, government, or throughout society in general, is clearly documented in their numerous writings on the subject. Those records establish their intent and thus clarify their two references to religion in the Constitution. And Jessica was correct. It doesn't matter to talk about the majority, the minority, that really is not the issue. The point is, she's absolutely correct. What does the Constitution say? Because if we talk about the majority, minority, that argument goes out the window too. It doesn't really matter what a judge in 2012, 2011 says.
30 seconds.
Thank you, sir. The point is, what was it originally intended to mean? And I just want to stress, going back, not Richard Lehe, but some guy named James Madison. He says, "I entirely concur in the propriety of restoring to the sense in which the Constitution was accepted and ratified by the nation. In that sense alone, it is the legitimate Constitution. In that original sense and intent, that is and alone the Constitution. And if it be not the guide in expounding it, there can be no security for a consistent and stable more than for a faithful exercise of its powers." Now listen to this. I appreciate your time.
Kevin Sosia.